Look around you, Exile. This isn't Oriev, or even Rayclast. I don't even think it's our world. It's somewhere else entirely.
Welcome to somewhere else entirely. Or to what is possibly the dumbest thing I have ever chosen to make a video about. I needed a break from Elden Ring, so I thought, why not play some Bloodborne instead? And that's exactly what I did. Just in a very dumb way, by flipping all settings to the exact opposite of what they usually are. I rounded all the numbers up, which I know in hindsight the brightness should have been turned completely down, but yeah, hindsight. I really want to call this a challenge run, but let's be real, it's not. Simply flipping the settings doesn't make it a challenge run. And since I couldn't find anyone who had done a video like this, I thought, sure, why not? I'm dumb enough to do this. And it was more difficult than I anticipated, but that's simply because under these circumstances it's basically giving the camera steroids, which is arguably the hardest boss in the Soulsborne games. I wanted to try something different with this video, so it will mainly be focusing on the bosses. I also won't go above level 100 because I don't want to feel like an absolute god in this game. That's for another video. I won't be using Carol runes either, because they're more nice to have than need to have. As you can see, I'm off to a good start. And speaking of a good start, do you know how long it took for the game to kill me the first time? That's right, I managed to stay alive for almost 12 seconds. For this run I picked the Hunter Axe, and you will soon enough see why. This is not fucking funny!
Prepare yourself for there are no...
What the fuck is this?
This is the actual reason why I picked the axe.
My true mentor.
You might not know this, but this is the only time the cleric beast will appear in this video. Did you see it? I want to become God! See, this is how the camera reacts when the analog is tilted just a bit to the left and to the right.
Beasts all over the shop. Too proud to show your true.
I had a few instances throughout this run, but there's one in particular that I'd like to show you. I got to this part of the sewers thinking that a new outfit might help. After all, fashion is a crucial factor in the Soulsborne games. And then I died. Again and again and again.
Too proud to show your true.
So as you can see, everything in Yharnam, including Gascoigne, completely destroys me. With the settings for the camera being reversed and the sensitivity cranked up to 10, Gascoigne's arena is absolute hell, and he was definitely one of the hardest boss fights for me. I have a question regarding Gascoigne, and it's a bit of a stretch, but please stay with me. So you know how Gascoigne is saying, "Too proud to show your true face," whenever he kills someone, right? What if you were to make a new character and have the wolf glitch you through the gate right outside of Josefka's clinic, then in some way break the game so that it's possible to gain access to the DLC, then defeat Lawrence in some way, get the beast rune, then re-equip it and return to Gascoigne to get killed by him again? Will he have something different to say, or will it still be the same? I know it's a stretch, but if you're someone who actually knows the answer, please leave a comment down below. And finally, after 8 hours, it's night Daddy Gascoigne. And much like the demons in Doom, my butthole too had been completely ripped and teared. For the Blood-Starved Beast, I genuinely thought this fight was gonna get way more difficult than I anticipated. Especially given how much of a hard time the camera are giving me under these circumstances. And yeah, you'll definitely note me fuck around with the camera. But then again, I have been beating the Blood-Starved Beast, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 times. So, it's basically just the camera that's the real enemy in this fight. The thing is with the camera though that it never goes away. It's always there. Also, for those of you who are curious, yes, I grinded 10,000 blood echoes just so I could get the Hunter Chief emblem, only to get this outfit, simply because fashion is a crucial factor in this game. A good idea when you play without the HUD is to keep your quick menu bar with as few items as possible, because it gets very quickly super confusing to navigate through all the items, especially when you're in the middle of a boss fight. I had just spent the final pungent blood cocktail I had in my inventory and I had no way of knowing it. Sure, I could check the menu, but it's kind of tough when you're against a hysterical boss like the Bloodstaff Beast. I really enjoy playing without the HUD because you never know which attack is gonna kill the boss. Eileen says, "Prepare yourself for the worst." So I am going to do exactly that. I know there are a lot of people who really dislike the chalice dungeons in Bloodborne, yours truly excluded. But I'm really curious to know, what do you think about the chalice dungeons versus the dungeons in Elden Ring? Are the chalice dungeons superior to the dungeons in Elden Ring, or is it the other way around? And of course I'm not talking about legacy dungeons, just tunnels, caves and stuff like that. Up next is a woman who despises me more than anything. Dear Heavenly Father, please grant me your strength. Because if that is Fat Exile coming, I am going to lose it. Please lend me your strength. Amelia, hey. You know, I've been thinking about you for a while now and I've been meaning to ask. That voice, I just can't take it anymore. I am going to lose it!
I fight as Horaloo.
I don't want to brag too much in this video, but I have actually never managed to land a date with Vicar Amelia. Quick question, there's a cutscene which I used at the beginning of my video, which also plays out on Bloodborne's main menu. There's a bell that rings. Does anyone know who rings that bell? Amelia! Who is it? Who rings that bell? Answer me! Okay, so maybe she didn't know. Anyway, I'm still gonna order a pizza. Wow, this video sure takes a long time to transition to the next boss fight. Am I hearing shit?
I've dealt with far darker shadows than you, Exile.
What? What are you... Huh? Are you high? Are you referring to my dress? What? Much like the Bloodstaff Beast, I too thought the Shadows of Yharnam would be way more difficult than I expected. Because at this point in the game I had died so many times. I was legitimately thinking about cheesing this boss. But fortunately it did not come to that and I beat the bosses fair and square, despite the camera fucking with me and all. Besides, it's just the Shadows of Yharnam. They can seem pretty overwhelming at first. But after you beat them a couple of times, or if you're just high enough level, they're not that difficult. I would also like to mention that I have seen a lot of people's first playthroughs of Bloodborne. Usually from what I've seen they are within the level range of 60 to 80, approximately. And since this is my first playthrough of Bloodborne, at least under these circumstances, I think I'm well within the appropriate level range. Huh, I guess I was just hearing shit. I'm also pretty sure he was talking about my dress. I'm going off script just to say that in Bloodborne, Yuri is simply the best waifu. For this kind of nightmare fuel, I'm gonna need some sedatives. Have you ever noticed that there's sedatives and spiders in Bloodborne? A lot. But none of those things in Elden Ring, apart from the giant grotesque hands. But there's a big difference between spiders and hands. I ended up purchasing so many sedatives from the bath messengers that I had to wrestle them out of their hands. After that they were actually sold out. And between you and me, it's way better to smoke the sedatives as compared to consume them normally. But hey, after the sedatives kicked in, I came to the realization that I could just simply open the status menu to watch my health. Yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures. But it really fucks with my mind. Like, are my eyes Carol rooms? Are I call beyond really a slug I keep in my pocket? Is the bloody crow of Canehurst in love with me? Holy fuck, I need to focus up. Okay, back on track. The best and worst part about this fight is that there's so many spiders all around Rom. So it's pretty easy to adjust the camera with the press of the R3 button, and it will most of the time just log on to a target. Which is, if you ask me, very crucial because you need to keep an eye on Rom at all times after he had teleported the first time. I guess you can say hit and run is effective.
That's it! I'm gonna smack this idiot right in his face with a fucking chair!
Off to a good start. The One Reborn is such an RNG based boss, it's unfathomable. For this fight, he wasn't much of a problem. On my Blood level 4 character, he wasn't much of a problem. On my latest run that I finished up yesterday, he gave me arguably one of the worst times ever. But yeah, it's crazy. Almost as crazy as the fact that Gascoigne has never ever tasted pizza. And now, it is time for...
Cause. Or some say cosm.
It is time to kick Mikolas's ass. I'm pretty sure at this point most people already know this. But there's a very easy way to get Mikolas into the room for the first phase of his fight, which makes the fight significantly easier. It's rather convenient compared to spending minutes just chasing him around. Free, bitch. Hey, get down from there.
Majestic! A hunter is a hunter, even in a dream.
And no, I am not going to use poison knives in the second phase. That would be too easy. This method also makes him really easy.
Oh, now I'm waking up. I'll forget everything.
I really wish I could forget everything as well after encountering you, Mikolas. But I guess that's why I'm stuck in a nightmare. You wanna know something really brilliant? On my very first playthrough of Bloodborne, first playthrough ever, after I defeated Murgo's wet nurse, I completely skipped all dialogue with German, which resulted in me submitting my life. And after that happened, I just can't help but see Murgo's wet nurse as a potential final boss. There are people who say that there is a connection between Ranni's ending in Elden Ring and Bloodborne because of moon stuff. And hey, I'm not here to dismiss the theory. I'm all for theories and speculation. I still wonder what the lore is behind the giant book in Dark Souls 2. And speaking of, I also believe that Ranni is connected to Dark Souls 2. She's very secretive, she's well hidden away, she's blue and have 4 arms. Who else does that remind you of? Dark Lurker! That's right, Dark Lurker is Ranni's father. Theory confirmed. Hey, that really hurt my feelings. Ranni being connected to the best Dark Souls game in the series is pretty cool. I am so glad that I kept some sedatives from the fight with Rom earlier. Because 1, I'm still waiting on my pizza. 2, Ludwig is giving me such a hard time. And 3, I'm not completely done crying over the booing from my Ranni theory. And at this point it feels like these 3 things are playing rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to cross my soul. I ordered my pizza all the way back when I was at the Grand Cathedral. Ludwig and this freaking reversed camera keeps smacking me around. And I don't want to talk about the last part. But I will say that Ludwig is a pretty tough boss. And the camera is arguably the toughest boss of them all. And when you put them together under these circumstances, do you know what you get? Mental health problems. Probably. It would have been so awesome if Ludwig were a boss that would appear in the Chalice Dungeons. Type hashtag Ludwig for Chalice Dungeons if you agree.
You were at my side all along. My true mentor, my guiding moonlight.
I'm sorry, I just really love that cutscene. Come to think of it, most main game and DLC bosses would be amazing to encounter in the Chalice Dungeons. Was Vicamelia really Horalu? The music for this boss fight is insane. When Mikulas is saying he's waking up, where exactly is he waking up? In the real world? In his bed? Some people say if you die in a dream, you die in real life. I once died in a dream. Maybe it just was a giant borsoi that looked like Horalu. Does Mikulas have a home? Was Rom trying to flirt with me? Who put the brain of Menses inside the giant tower? What does eyes on the inside mean? Do I have to keep an eye on my inside? Do I have to keep eyes inside my skull? These sedatives makes me question everything! Holy shit! What a kick-ass soundtrack for a kick-ass boss. That music hits so hard, it's like seeing the face of God. Or maybe it's the sedative. No, it's definitely the sedatives. No one gives a shit about the living failures. I may be in the wrong for saying this, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I still think the Old Hunters DLC would have been a lot better if the living failures was not included in it. Maybe that's just me. I mean, I am a bit fucked in the head. But what do you think? Am I fucked in the head? Is the living failures a good fight? Leave a comment, let me know. It's always good to get some confirmation on your sanity or insanity, depending on how you look at it.
You devious rat. The makings of a true hunter, this lass. Very well. Then there's no need to hold back.
I should think you still have dreams. Well, the next time you dream, give some thought.
I have done a soul level 1 run in Dark Souls 3 and a blood level 4 run in Bloodborne. And Lady Maria is hands down the most difficult boss for me when it comes to those low level runs. She is so tough.
That is because you suck.
Then again, the problem is that her third phase... The problem is because you suck. Do you mind? As I was saying, the problem is that her final phase can potentially be very, very toxic because of the flames from her attacks are not always present when she attacks. So after she finishes a combo and you see an opening, chances are you might get hit by those flames even though they are not visible. And that can really make sure you die in a very short amount of time. It can quickly go from a potential opening to a potential death sentence. I'm gonna go off script just to say that in Bloodborne, Lady Maria is simply the best waifu.
Gotcha, bitch!
I've always thought it would be so cool if the doll had this dialogue. Wherever you go, the moon still sets in the hunter's dream. Wherever you may be, the hunter's dream is your home. Huh? That's a Dark Souls 3 reference.
You
I've always
suck.
felt like this description from the small doll would fit incredibly on the doll in Bloodborne.
You don't wanna hear it.
Obviously,
Shut the
without
fuck
the
up.
Irithel stuff and with the hunter's dream instead. Also, Lady Maria is a way better boss fight than Melania, Blade of Miquella. The old Hunters DLC is the gift that keeps on giving. Is Father Gascoigne my father? And Lady Maria is the present I never knew I wanted until I got it. Regardless of what I said about her third phase when you're blood level 4, this is arguably one of my absolute favorite boss fights. Plus, hang on one second. And here I'm gonna show you something you can do when you're high level, but not as a blood level 4. Now remember, always finish your combos with a gunshot. Plus, she's really fun to smoke sedatives with, but don't tell anyone. She is a caretaker for the patients in the research hall after all, so you know she can administer her sedatives. What an absolute goddess tier boss fight. And if I'm lucky, she just dropped some.
Have you ever seen the true face of God, Exile?
Yeah, not even 2 seconds. By this point in the game, the camera settings and all that wasn't that much of an issue. It was actually rather pleasant to play without the HUD, as I mentioned earlier. But I will admit that it feels much more like a regular run, except for the few times when the camera still fucks me over, but that's on me. It was only the early to mid game where I had major issues with these settings. But after a while I got pretty used to it and it wasn't that much of a problem. I'd quickly like to say that the Old Hunters DLC is perfect, and you should never listen to anyone who tells you otherwise. Or me. You should definitely not listen to me. My brain is still completely fried from the sedatives from earlier. My point is, this is a really good DLC. I have so much in my script and so little time, so I better make it fast. Okay, so let's see. I have never used Ludwig's Holy Blade because I was too much in love with the Saw Cleaver back when the game came out and I started playing it. And I never really gotten back to try it out. The same with the Beast Hunter Scythe. What about you? Are there any weapons you still haven't tried in Bloodborne after all these years? Now as I say it, I realize I should have said this before the other thing, but that doesn't matter right now. But the thing with From Software is that the final bosses in their DLCs are usually always masterpieces. I mean, just look at the DLC for the first Dark Souls game. Manus was an amazing final boss fight. Same goes for Dark Souls 2 apart from Sin, if you ask me. Personally, I didn't think he's too much of a masterpiece. On the other hand, Sir Alon, Fume Knight and the Ivory King is. I also think Ilana is a masterpiece which makes more than up for Sin. And then we have Dark Souls 3. Sister Frieda was a really good boss fight. And Slave Knight Gale is arguably just as good of a boss fight as they often of course. And that's usually what makes their DLCs and their content so amazing. I simply cannot wait to see what FromSoft has in store for us when the DLC for Elden Ring releases. Whew. And right on time for me to say, now remember to always finish your combos with a transformation attack. Now remember to always finish your combos with a transformation attack. I also think Soldier of Godric is a masterpiece.
I've become
I've become a walking nightmare.
Sweet child of course. Some say course turned to the ocean.
Yeah, I guess you could say he's sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah,
Before we wrap
slut.
things up here in the DLC, I'd quickly like to show you my stats. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I was not gonna go above level 100. And now it's time to return to the Hunter's Dream to face Gurm and the Moon Presence and finish off this run.
You will die.
Yeah, I died, okay? Just because I don't have any footage of it doesn't mean it didn't happen. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. I still can't help but think, There must be something with German and Eileen. I'm pretty sure there's a story there, because German just sent hunters into Yarnam City, and Eileen hunt the hunters. Yeah, I don't know. If you have any theories, please leave them in the comments below. Also, can we take a second to appreciate the fact that it's not the bloody crow of Canehurst that's the final boss? And for the big conclusion, did I learn anything? Did I get something out of this? Not really. I mean, I learned that I still think Bloodborne is FromSoft's best title. Don't get me wrong, this was very difficult at the beginning of the game simply because of the camera was pumped up on steroids and I had no idea how to deal with it properly. Now, to be fair, I will admit that at least one thing stuck with me throughout this whole run. And that was the fact that Gascoigne kicked my ass just as hard as the Orphan of Kos, and that's definitely a first time for me. And that is something that sticks with you. I learned that playing without the HUD is very nice, and I might actually consider playing Bloodborne that way going forward. Also, if we take German and Moon Presence as a back-to-back boss fight, it's definitely way better than Radagon and Elden Beast. But then again, which back-to-back bosses isn't? No! What
the hell are you on about?
Jeez, okay, sorry. At least my pizza finally arrived, so now I can eat my sorrows away. And finally, I learned that you should never, ever order pizza from anywhere in Yarnam. So, to reconclude, I guess I got something out of this after all.
Are you cold?
I'm going off script just to say that in Bloodborne, the doll is simply the best waifu.
Oh, good hunter.
I'm gonna go now. I need to find a way to deslugify myself. I think eating a pizza as a call beyond will be very difficult.